Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to the Christmas season of Who'd Win and Why. And yes, I am still wearing my Santa hat with the beard, and that's just because I still can't find my other Santa Claus hat, and no one else seemed to have a real problem with it in the comment section down below of the last video, which was Iceman vs. Blizzard. So, until I find my other hat, I guess I'll just keep using this. And, I might not find my other hats, or I might have to keep using this for the rest of the season, but, I think that's okay, unless anyone has a problem with it, because it probably is pretty distracting, but, whatever, this is really what I have right now. But, today we're talking about Jack Frost going up against Killer Frost. Now, obviously, Killer Frost has been on the show before. She fought Iceman a few battles back, and this Jack Frost, is the Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians, which is a movie which involved Jack Frost, Santa Claus, Sandman, the Tooth Fairy, and other characters. So this is the Jack Frost that I feel is the closest to Killer Frost when it comes to, abilities and powers. And also, this is the Jack Frost that I just know most about, because there are different interpretations of the character, but this is the Jack Frost that I know most about, so I just feel that's best for a video like this, where I'm trying to analyze both characters and make them fight to the death. So, let's just get right into it. So, who would win and why? Let's find out. So first I'm going to talk about Jack Frost. Now, Jack Frost is the guardian of fun, meaning that he is that's his center. If you ever watch the movie, you'll know what I mean. If you didn't watch the movie, then this kind of means gibberish to you guys right now. But he is basically the guardian of fun, the spirit of winter. Fun is his center. Basically his existence is to bring fun to kids around the world, which does mean that he doesn't have that much combat experience, but I'll get to that later when I go into the weaknesses section. So basically, Jack Frost has a staff that he can use to summon and conjure snow and ice and wind and stuff like that, and he can use it to his advantage when it comes to fighting or when he's trying to make kids have fun, as I said before. So he can control it with his staff, though he does not need the staff to do it. At first he thought he did, but it was just an easier outlet for him to do it. He does not need the staff to actually do all that stuff, and if the staff does end up breaking or anything like that, he can actually put it back together by holding it together and fusing it back together. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, he can basically create his own snow and ice and wind and basically just use it as attacks, or like I said, he doesn't generally use it as attacks, though he can, because he does have some combat experience when it comes to fighting Pitch, who is the boogeyman. He's the villain of the movie, and his minions and everything like that, so he can use it. He has had some experience using it when it comes to fighting, but not a lot. But basically the point is that he can control snow and ice and wind and basically use it in any way he really wants to. When it comes to strength, Jack Frost isn't very known for strength. Generally what he likes to do is he likes to keep his distance and move around his enemy a lot and basically just use his snow to his advantage. When it comes to speed, though, well, he basically has two different types of speed. The first thing is in the air. So basically what he can do is he can fly, or more so float like a snowflake, by riding across the wind. Basically he doesn't really have a defined speed for this, because it basically just depends how fast the wind is going, and because Jack Frost can control wind and summon his own wind, it can basically be as fast as he wants to. And when it comes to the ground, Jack Frost is extremely fast on his feet. He's been able to dodge, and he's very agile. He's been able to dodge attacks in the past. When he runs on water, the water underneath him actually turns to ice, which I just think is really cool. That's a really nice touch to the character. But he is extremely fast. He parkours a lot, and he's just a little daredevil when it comes to moving around the city. So he is extremely fast and extremely agile, and yeah, he's had a lot of experience doing it. He's been living for 300 years. When it comes to the 300 years thing, it has been said that Jack Frost is immortal. Now, I've been trying to look all over the internet trying to figure this out, and I still haven't figured out which type of immortal they mean. Do they mean the type of immortal where he lives forever, but he can still be killed? Or is it the type of immortal where he lives forever and he cannot be killed, like in a Vandal Savage type way? And Vandal Savage is a villain from DC, if you don't know who that character is, but he's a character that basically lives forever and he cannot die. So I'm not sure which version it is. Just for the sake of the fight, I'm going to assume that it's just that he can live forever, but he can still die. Another reason is just because why would they be worried about him dying in the movie if he wasn't going to die? I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's just for the sake of the fight. I'm just going to assume that. Yeah, let's move on. So when it comes to durability, he, again, just like strength, he's not very known for his durability. He can take somewhat of a punishment because, he's fought with the other Guardians against, this all-powerful boogeyman. So he can take a beating, but his main durability comes from that he is resistant to cold. He's the spirit of winter. Cold doesn't really bother him or anything like that. He is pretty resistant to the cold. When it comes to martial arts and fighting skill, believe it or not, Jack Frost, living for 300 years, has actually been able to develop his own martial martial art, his own unique martial art that he created, which is mixing together his ice and snow powers and with agility and speed. So it's like his own martial art that he created, which I just think is really cool. And that means that not only is he a good fighter, but it also means that he is very unpredictable when it comes to combat. You don't really know what this guy is going to do. When it comes to weaknesses, his main weakness is that he just doesn't have a lot of combat experience. Sure, he fought the Boogeyman. The Boogeyman is extremely powerful, and he fought all his minions as well. But he fought them with the help of the other Guardians, and the other Guardians have been Guardians for a really long time. Would it be too much of a stretch to say that they did most of the fighting? It's hard to say. Obviously, Jack Frost did do some of the fighting because Boogeyman is powerful, and he obviously fought some minions by himself, but most of the fighting might have actually come from the Guardians. And another thing is that, while he is like the spirit or like the guardian of fun, that does mean that sometimes he can be caught off guard when he's trying to do something crazy or whatever. You guys know what I mean. Like sometimes he can be caught off guard just because he's having fun or whatever. By the way, back to having fun. So one of his abilities that he can do is he can actually create a snowball, and when you hit a child or anyone with that snowball, they will start to have fun. He did that with children, but also with the Easter Bunny. As soon as he hit the Easter Bunny with a snowball, his spirits lit up. He started to have fun again. And that's something that proves that, anyone that gets hit by the snowball, even a Guardian, will have fun whether they like it or not. So that's something, obviously it is impractical to try to make a snowball. Maybe not for Jack Frost because he can just make it in the air. But that's something that he can do. Why he didn't use it on the Boogeyman, I don't think he used it on the Boogeyman, but why he didn't use it on the Boogeyman, I don't really know. I guess just because it would be too easy. But, that's another thing he can do just because he's the Guardian of Fun. So yeah, I think that's really all I need to say about Jack Frost. Now on to Killer Frost. Now Killer Frost, like I said, she was in another episode, but there's a half decent chance that some of you guys are watching this are new, that you haven't seen that video, so I'm just going to go all over it again. So Killer Frost does actually have a lot of powers similar to Jack Frost. She can, conjure snow and ice, and probably wind as well, and she can, use it to her advantage. She's even been shown making, ice daggers, which she can use to, hit her opponents, and they are very powerful. They can go at very fast speeds, very high speeds, and they are very powerful and very sharp. So yeah, she can basically use ice to her advantage. It has been implied that she can make other things out of ice other than daggers, but she hasn't been shown to be too creative when it comes to it. Generally, she just likes to use more offensive weapons like daggers flying in the air. So yeah, that's generally what she likes to do. The way her powers work is that she actually draws heat from any source, including her opponent, to power herself. So it almost fuels her. She basically turns the heat into ice that she uses. So basically she needs heat in the air. She can draw heat from any source, and obviously there is going to be heat somewhere in the air, obviously. But generally what she likes to do is draw the heat out of her opponents, which actually just freezes them. It takes all the heat out of them. So that's why the main opponent that she fights is Firestorm, because Firestorm is full of heat energy, and he's actually the only being in existence that can keep her satisfied, because if she doesn't draw on heat for long enough, she will die. But it does prove that she pretty much drawing from the heat in the air, she has an unlimited supply of ice and snow that she can use. And actually trying to heat her up with Heat Wave's gun, if anything, it will actually make her more powerful because she's drawing on more heat and it's fueling her powers more. However, if she gets hit with something cold, that will erase some of the heat in the air, which will, it won't, I don't want to say it will depower her, but it will mean that she doesn't have as much heat to use to her advantage. So when it comes to combat experience, Killer Frost obviously has fought many different characters over the years. The main character that she fights by herself is Firestorm, and while Firestorm is extremely powerful, like I said, it's because she can draw on a lot of his heat. And when she fights other characters, she does obviously play a big role in fighting, but she does fight a lot with other supervillain teams. But it does mean that she has a lot of experience not only working by herself, but also teamworking with other villains. So when it comes to strength and speed and durability, like I said, she's pretty resistant to heat, because she can just use it as to her advantage. And when it comes to strength, again, just like Jack Frost, she's not really known for strength. And when it comes to speed, she isn't particularly quick on the ground, but she has been shown to fly before. I'm not even sure if it's flying. Is it it might be kind of like Jack Frost when she's using the wind and snow to her advantage, kind of lift her up and glide through the air. I'm not really sure if I'm 100% correct on that, but that's from what I've seen, that's what Killer Frost seems to do. So yeah, that's really all I feel I need to say about Killer Frost. And she doesn't really have any combat experience. Like, no, I don't want to say combat experience. She doesn't have any experience actually going fist to fist with someone. She doesn't know any martial arts or anything like that. But she is a doctor, so she is pretty smart. Her IQ is pretty high. So yeah, that's really all I feel I need to say about those characters. Now trying to figure out who would win. Now, when I first heard about this fight, it was weird. I thought Killer Frost was gonna take this because Jack Frost, he's only had one movie. He hasn't been around a lot, and Killer Frost has been around forever. She's been well, maybe not forever. Not as long as Batman, but she's been around for a very long time and fought many different characters. And Jack Frost just doesn't have the combat experience to go up against her. As I started looking into the fight more, I started realizing, maybe this is actually a much closer fight than I thought because these characters' powers are very similar. They can both control ice. They can both generate ice. They can both travel through the air. They can do a lot of stuff that's very similar to each other. So it was very tough. As I started looking more into it, it was very tough to figure out who would actually win this. And after going over everything again, and this is where I really say that this is just my own opinion because this is going to shock some of you, I honestly feel that Jack Frost would win this fight. And I'm happy about this, but at the same time, I'm not happy about this. And here's the reason why I'm happy about this. I'm not really sure if Jack Frost can be killed or not. Like I said, I'm going to assume that he still can be killed. But the good thing is that if I feel that Jack Frost wins anyway, then it doesn't matter which one I use. If I use that he can be killed or he can't be killed, because I feel like even if he can be killed, I feel that he would win. So that means that my assumption doesn't really matter if he can or cannot be killed, if that makes any sense. However, the reason why I don't like this, and I'm actually going to spoil Iceman vs. Killer Frost for you guys, which is another video I did back. So if you're planning on seeing that, please get out there, watch that, and come back. Obviously Killer Frost lost that fight, and now Killer Frost is losing again. And honestly, there have been so many characters on Who'd Win and Why that when they come back, if they've won before, they win again. If they've lost before, they lose again. And the more I do that, the more it makes me look biased. And guys, I keep telling you I'm not biased because that's not the point of the show. The point of the show is to try to figure out which character would actually win in a fight more often than not. And I can, but it's it really doesn't look good because from what I'm not going to spoil anything, but from what I can remember, from what I can think off the top of my head right now, there are only 4 characters that have returned that have had different win-loss stuff. One person off the top of my head has won 1 and lost 1, and there's one that's won maybe 2 and lost 1, something like that. However, when it comes to characters that have had the same outcome, whether they've won and won or lost and lost or won, lost, I can think of maybe 9 or 10. And I'm not even joking when I say that. There are a lot of characters that when they return, they do the same thing. The same outcome happens. So like I said, I'm not biased. That's just what happens. I guess really the only explanation I can say for that is that it's just a coincidence. That obviously, just because a character loses twice on my show doesn't mean that they're weak as heck. They can fight. And there are characters that they can beat. It's just with the characters that they're being matched up with, in my personal opinion, I just feel they lose both times or they win both times. But you know what? That now we're getting really off topic. You guys want to hear why I feel Jack Frost wins? Because this is good. That shocked some of you, I'm sure. You came in here expecting Killer Frost to win, and if you still feel Killer Frost would win after my explanation, that's perfectly fine. Just tell me in the comments below why. But honestly, I feel Jack Frost would win, and let me explain. First, let me get the obvious stuff out of the way. So, like I said, Jack Frost, I'm not sure if he is if he can be killed or not, but that doesn't really matter because I still feel Jack Frost will win even if he can be killed. The other obvious thing is his just when they would attack each other. Remember, Jack Frost is resistant to cold. He cold attacks don't really bother him, he's the spirit of winter, for God's sake. He's not kind of like Iceman. He is pretty resistant to cold, and the cold attacks don't really affect him that much, other than the fact that they might be deadly and with force and stuff like that. Killer Frost ice daggers going extremely fast. But other than that, the attacks aren't going to do much to Jack Frost. And with Killer Frost, it's the exact opposite. She needs heat to draw on in order to, keep her powers going. And obviously, she's not going to be able to draw much heat from Jack Frost, being the spirit of winter and all. He's not going to have that much heat stored inside him. And the more he attacks her, the less heat there's gonna be surrounding her. So she's not gonna have that much heat to draw on, and the more he attacks her, the more it's gonna be harder for her to use her abilities. Like with a wave of his wand, he can freeze someone in an ice block. And that means that he can basically freeze Killer Frost. Killer Frost isn't going to be immune to it, and he can just go for the kill right there. And even if he leaves her there, she will eventually die because there's not enough heat for her to stay alive, just like a regular person. But especially in this case for Killer Frost, since she's so reliant on heat. And does this mean that Jack Frost is completely resistant to Killer Frost attacks? No, of course it doesn't, because of the whole force thing, and that there's gonna be force applied to him, which will hurt. And does it mean that Jack Frost attacks are kryptonite to Killer Frost? No, of course not. Obviously it doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is that attack for attack, ice attack to ice, sorry, what am I saying? It's just every time Jack Frost attacks Killer Frost, it's gonna do a lot more damage than when Killer Frost attacks Jack Frost, which means that he already has a big advantage attack for attack. So yeah, that's just a big advantage that I feel that Jack Frost has over Killer Frost, which was another big factor in Iceman versus Killer Frost. Now getting into other stuff that some of you may not have considered before. Jack Frost is much faster than Killer Frost, in my opinion, both on foot and in the air. Now, Jack Frost on foot obviously is much faster than Killer Frost and much more agile. He's been parkouring for over 300 years, and he's just seemed to be much faster than her, on the ground. He can, run up to speeds. I don't know how fast he can run, but he's been running a lot and dodging a lot of attacks. He's just much faster. He's much more agile than Killer Frost could probably ever dream of being. And when it comes to the air, this one's a bit harder to say, because both of them can fly, but because Jack Frost can, again, he's had a lot of practice, 300 years of practice gliding across the wind, He's and he can basically increase that wind speed to however fast he wants. And Killer Frost doesn't seem to be all too fast in the air, in my opinion anyway. She doesn't seem to be all too fast in the air. Whereas Jack Frost, he can be as slow or as fast as he wants to be. Also, if these two were to ever come in a fist fight, while neither of them are known for strength and durability, Jack Frost obviously is more like I said, Jack Frost is more resistant to any cold attacks that she would do during that time, and he has a lot of experience coming up with his own fighting style, mixed, his own martial art, coming up with, using his cold attacks and using his speed, he's a very unpredictable opponent when you're going fist to fist, should it happen. I don't think it would happen every single time, because these two are mainly known for using their ice abilities, but if it were to ever happen, Jack Frost would have a big advantage, not just because of his resistance to cold, but also because of his own unique martial art that makes him unpredictable and skillful. And from my knowledge, Killer Frost doesn't know any martial arts at all. Her only real knowledge that she can use is her knowledge on on ice, because I believe that's what she was studying, cryogenetics or something, before she became Killer Frost. But even so, it's what is that going to really help her in the fight? Is that going to help her stop Jack Frost from using his abilities? And there's another thing, his snowball. If she gets hit with the snowball, she's gonna lose, all concentration. She's gonna, completely, she's gonna start having fun for no reason at all. Well, just because he hit her with a snowball. And then it's pretty much game over for her, if you ask me. Again, and some of you might be thinking, oh, well, it might not work on her or whatever. Well, it worked on the Easter Bunny, and the Easter Bunny is another guardian. And these guardians, I don't want to call them gods, but, they're almost on, another plane of existence. So doing it to a supervillain, if he can do it to a guardian, I see no reason why he wouldn't be able to do it to a supervillain. And I just feel that, and remember, it's even the meanest person, there was a child in Rise of the Guardians who was so mean. She was the bully, and I believe it was a she at least, and when she got hit with a snowball, she started having fun. So it doesn't matter how mean you are. It's just, if you get hit with a snowball, you're going to start having fun, and you're going to start losing all concentration. Now, to be fair to Killer Frost, there are some advantages that she has over Jack Frost. Now, the two main advantages that she has are deadliness and combat experience, and that's really the curb-stomping edge that she has over him. Now, first let's talk about deadliness. Now, the main reason why she has the edge in deadliness is because she uses her ice in more deadly ways. However, because both of these characters really, share the same power set, it's implied that Jack Frost will be able to do pretty much anything that Killer Frost is able to do, and possibly even more. just because, his ice staff and his abilities are just so versatile. He's able to make a fun snowball, like I said. And there are two reasons why he wouldn't be using those like to his advantage, like his own ice spikes. One reason would be because shoot, now I'm losing it. One reason would be because he didn't think about doing it, and the other reason would be because he just doesn't want to kill anyone. Well, to like answer both of those, if he doesn't know to do it, all he needs to do is like look at Killer Frost doing it, and then he can change up his strategy. Like he just needs to look at Killer Frost doing it, and then he immediately knows how to do it. I know that sounds a bit weird to say, but it is true. And when it comes to not wanting to kill anyone, well, this is Who'd Win and Why, where the point is you are trying to kill someone. So yeah, so he can pretty much be as deadly as Killer Frost anytime he wants to. And when it comes to combat experience, now this is probably a big reason why a lot of you were thinking why Killer Frost should win this fight. Well, here's what I have to say to that. Yes, she has fought many more characters and has teamed up with a lot of characters as well. But like I said, the main person that she fights by herself is Firestorm, and there's a lot of energy for her to draw on. And with Jack Frost, there's not a lot of heat for her to draw on because he's like a spirit of winter. He doesn't have a lot of heat stored up inside him. And remember, Jack Frost has been living for over 300 years. And while this doesn't mean that he has been fighting a ton of people for 300 years, because he clearly hasn't, he's had a lot of experience using his snowball, using his abilities to his advantage when it comes to speed. He's had a lot of practice using speed. And it does mean that he's able to dodge a lot of things, whether they're ice attacks or not. And, he hasn't had no experience fighting. He obviously can use his abilities to his advantage when it comes to fighting. Because he has fought with the Guardians before. Now, like I said, that was his only fight. It was really his only fight, and the Guardians probably did most of the fighting for him. But it does mean that he can use his abilities to his advantage when it comes to a fight. And just because of all the other advantages that Jack Frost has over her, I just feel that Jack Frost is more suited to win this fight. He is more resistant to the cold, and Killer Frost is more like the exact opposite. I feel that alone just shows that for every attack that they do to each other, it's just Jack Frost just has the big advantage over her. For the way I see it is that Jack Frost is like a spirit of winter. He's like on the same level as Santa Claus, He's the spirit of winter. He can pretty much manipulate winter in any way he wants, and he can just like do whatever he wants with it. I don't want to call him a god, but he does seem to be on like another level, like with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and all these other characters. Whereas Killer Frost is just a villain that can use cold to her advantage. And yes, she has a lot of combat experience, but she's a villain that just uses cold to her advantage. And while she does have complete control over the cold that she produces, Jack Frost is like the spirit of winter. Fighting someone who is cold based is something that he would live for, especially considering that she'd be extra resistant, extra weak to the cold attacks that he can dish out. So just because of all the advantages, surprising advantages that Jack Frost has over Killer Frost, I just feel like he'd win this fight more often than Killer Frost would. So, in my opinion, the winner is Jack Frost. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was a bit longer than most of my other episodes, but honestly it was because I really needed a big explanation to prove why I believe Jack Frost would win, because I know a lot of you were coming in here thinking that Killer Frost would win. I hope you enjoyed this episode regardless, even if you do believe that Killer Frost would win. If you still believe that Killer Frost would win, please tell me in the comments below why, because I really want to know if there's anything that you think I missed or anything important that you think I should have said. Again, tell me in the comments below. If you like this episode, please give me a like, comment down below everything I said before, maybe comment down what other battles you'd like to see me do next. Next season is a regular season, and if you haven't commented down anything yet, like any sort of any suggestion, then do it. Comment down something, and who knows, maybe you'll get into a future season. You really have nothing to lose. And if you could subscribe to my channel, guys, that would be so great. That would really help me out. I make these videos pretty regularly. I'm able to do it more so now that I'm on Christmas break. I have about a week left, so hopefully I'll get the season done, because there's only 2 episodes left. So hopefully, I don't want to guarantee anything, because something might hit me over the head, but who knows. But yeah, I'm trying to be as talkative with you guys as I can. So if you want to stick around for a bit, why not? You really have nothing to lose. So if you could subscribe to my channel, that'd be so great. And if you don't want to, your view is just, it means everything to me. So I'm so happy that you were here spending the time that you did with me. And I do have a Q&A that's going to be happening fairly soon after this season is done. So if you want to ask your questions, if you want to ask me any sort of questions, and if not, that's fine too. But if you do, leave it in the comments below. But please make sure that you tell me that is for the Q&A. And if you want to make sure that I see it, go to my Q&A announcement video that I made a while back, which is my 200 subscriber thank you video. So just go to that, leave your comments, leave your questions down there, or just leave it on this video, but make sure you tell me that it is for the Q&A, because if you don't, then I might just answer it right then and there, and then there's no reason for it to be in the Q&A anyway. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means so much to me. And next time on Who'd Win and Why, we got Frozone going up against Elsa. See you all then.